This is a very difficult subject for us to point out because there are so many controversies, different opinions expressed by various religious teachers, philosophers, and some others. And we also do not know actually why we are here and what we are doing and what will happen to us. We are not sure. So we create our own imaginations according to our wish. But remember, we create our imaginations just to satisfy our desire or craving. Now let us start from the very beginning. How this idea was originated, that there is a final goal. The normal belief is all of us were created by a God. So the purpose of this creation is not in our hand. The God knows why He created you. Don't ask God, why did you create us? Your duty is to obey, to believe, and to pray. Then He knows what to do with you. This philosophy is very easy to understand. There is nothing for you to learn, nothing to think. That is why people always say, whenever something happens to them, they say, God knows. It is up to God. It is His will. We have no choice. At the same time, there are some others who cannot satisfy with this interpretation because there are so many contradictions. Therefore, another religious group says, God created you and given you full freedom to make use of this life by considering or knowing the meaning of life without abusing, without polluting the purity of life. If you can continue for a certain period, there is no limited number of periods according to them. But some others say only one life. So this is the only life that God created, and if you abuse, you had it. That means God punish you. If you follow Him or His advices, you will be rewarded. So you have no second choice. You have no chance to mold or to adjust your life hereafter. That is why they are very particular. By considering this situation, to convert the followers of other religions into their religion. They say this is the only line. If you abuse or if you do not believe this, you have no chance to find or to experience your salvation. Then another religious group says, although God has created you, He has given you full freedom to make use of this life, so He waits until you completely purify, until you become perfect. As when you have completed this mission, the God will take you back. And that is called union with the God or the Creator. It came from Him, again goes back to Him. This method is not very difficult to understand. Now there are two theories here. Remember the differences. Those who cannot satisfy even with this interpretation gives another idea. They say there is an eternal, universal consciousness. They don't want to use the word God or Creator. All these existing things in this universe, whether life or otherwise, are the unit particles of that universal consciousness. So, when this body or this life is disintegrated or dissolved, again absorbed into that universal consciousness. And that is the final God. Now three opinions. Most of them are rationalist, free thinkers, and some other religious cult and creeds, those who do not believe in God. Now let us come to the Buddha. So when you study his teaching, you can understand the Buddha did not agree, did not acknowledge all these existing beliefs. Therefore he has given an entirely a different interpretation, analysis, for us to understand what this life is and how this life is originated, whether there is an end to it or not. If there is an end, then how to reach? And these are the things that he has pointed out. When you read one of the sutras in Anguttara Nikaya, Sutra Pitaka, he says, the purpose of my coming or becoming a Buddha is only for two purposes. I did not come here to tell you who created you, who created this world, but to tell you why you are here. And to tell you whether you are happy with this life or not. If you are not happy, to tell you what is the cause of that unhappiness or unsatisfactoriness. To tell you who is responsible for this. Whether you are responsible or somebody else is responsible. Remember, these are very meaningful sayings. Then if you are not happy, to tell you or to show you the path, to see the end of all your sufferings, physical and mental. Whatever method you adopt in order to get rid of your physical and mental suffering, you can overcome for the time being. Momentary relief you gain, but the next moment you have to experience the pain and suffering. And this is the nature of existence. In fact, there is nothing for us to take as happiness in this life. There is nothing. Then he has given a very nice parable for us to understand. He says, assume you are having some sort of rashes or itch here in your body. When that area is very itchy, what you do, you scratch. When you scratch, at that time you feel very nice. Isn't it? Yes. The itchiness disappears. When you rub and rub and rub and scratch, the itchiness disappears. But next moment, you get more pain or sometimes bleeding, if not infection. So the scratching is not the remedy to get rid of your itchiness. So all our worldly pleasures that we are experiencing as pleasure is exactly like scratching for the time being. Another aspect of the same parable. When you are having a severe pain, stomach pain, or headache, or toothache, after taking certain medication, you could manage to get rid of this pain. When you are having this pain, you complain, very painful, cannot tolerate. After taking certain drugs or medicine, you could manage to get rid of this pain, then you say, oh, now I feel very nice. Can you define this word nice? Where is this nice that you say? What is the meaning of this word nice? Very nice. Nice means no more pain. So when we are not suffering, either physically or mentally, then we say very nice. Besides that, there is nothing for us to take as nice. So we are in between this negative and positive. When there is pain, we take this as suffering. When there is no pain, we take this as pleasure, nice, soothing, peaceful. Not only physically, mentally. Mental torture is more painful than physical torture. Many people commit suicide due to mental torture than the physical ailment or suffering. Intolerable. Then some others, still I did not explain the meaning of the sayings, what the Buddha said. I explain later. Then some other religious group introduced another method to find out their final salvation. So what they did, by observing certain vows, penances, torturing, burning, starving, standing without lying down or without sleeping, suffering without taking medicines when they are sick, observing complete silence without talking. These are the remedies, method they have introduced to wash away or to get rid of all the sins or the evils that we have committed. This method is still very common in certain countries like India. Now this is another method. After gaining his enlightenment, when he wanted to convey, to tell others what he realized, in the first sermon, Dhammananda, he started his sermon by giving this advice. He opened his mouth by using this word, first time. You can see in Dhammananda Sutra. Deme bhikkhave anta pabbajitena nasevitabba yochayang kamesu kama sukhallikan yogu atta kilamatan yogu. I strongly advise you to avoid these two extremes. What are those two extremes? Kamesu kama sukhallikan yogo. Not to become slaves to your self-indulgence, sensual pleasure, not to become slaves. Don't devote your whole lifetime to satisfy your senses or craving. In the end, you never gain anything but more troubles and pain. This is the first advice. Don't torture yourself. thinking, by torturing you can find out your salvation. The other advice. So, as Buddhist, it is not necessary for you to suffer in the name of Buddhism or to practice Buddhism. You can lead your normal life, normal food, normal dress. You also can have some sort of worldly pleasures, satisfaction, without violating, without disturbing, by adopting any decent or respectable or harmless method. This is the Buddhist way of life. So you cannot say, as Buddhist, we cannot enjoy our life. It is wrong. You can enjoy your life, but in every word, in every action, you must be mindful not to violate, not to disturb, not to bluff, and then you can enjoy. Then, on the other hand, don't torture your physical body without eating, without sleeping, without taking medicine. And there were many religious groups in India at that time. Some of them observed certain vows to stand with one leg like this and raising the other one whole day and night, and standing like this and open mouth. Mouth is open and stand with one leg. Religious way of life. Then they explain, we don't eat any food. When you open our mouth, the air goes into the body. This is our food. And we stand by one leg because our life is so heavy. This earth cannot tolerate, cannot hold the heaviness of our body. Therefore, stand with one leg. Those foolish people cannot understand the whole weight goes through one leg. These are the religious observances. I am sure even today some of those so-called fanatical religious people may observe this kind of thing, meaningless practices. Some others eat their food and drinks their water just like animals, like cats and dogs and cows. Without using hand, they use only mouth to take food like this, like eating ice cream and drinking water. Cannot touch anything. It is a religious principle. And some others walk exactly like animals. 4 legs. 2 hands and 2 legs use as 4 legs and walk just like animals, like small babies. A religious principle. When this question was put to the Buddha, actually what is the fate of those people who observe these animals' way of life as religious principle? The Buddha says, those who maintain animal mentality, animal way of life, animal's behavior, in the next birth, very easily they can become animals. This is the way how Buddha pass remarks regarding these religious practices. So it was a very big battle actually for Buddha to wipe out all those existing superstitious beliefs that people maintained for thousands of years, to enlighten them. Then, to attain the first stage of sainthood, how many stages are there for us to attain the final goal or nirvana? How many? 4. Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahant. These are the 4 steps. Then attain nirvana. So we cannot jump at once without climbing step by step. 2. Attain the first stage of sainthood, Sotapanna, we had to unload, we had to eradicate 3 kinds of burdens: mental defilements, mental impurities that we maintain in our mind. Now we have come to the path introduced by the Buddha. So it clearly shows, according to the Buddha's way of teaching, no one can find out the final salvation either by praying to anybody or worshipping or reciting any sutras or mantras. It is impossible. But those practices are important for people to get into that religious way of life. All these practices are means to an end, not the final solution. You can pray 1,000 times a day. You can recite 1,000,000 times certain sutras or recitals or prayer. But that is not the correct path to find out the final salvation according to the Buddha. Now this is the method. Sotapanna, we had to reduce 3 mental disturbances: Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikicca, Silabbata Paramasa. These are the 3 words used by the Buddha. It is not a simple, very difficult task. We have to struggle. What is the meaning of the first word? Sakkaya Ditthi. The concept that we maintain that there is a self. We have a self, and it is permanent, everlasting. As long as you maintain this belief, you never attain nirvana or final salvation. Because that concept is wrong, imagination. Because of this concept of self, we develop I, my, ours. And these are the biggest problems which create enormous problems amongst the mankind. People fight, kill, destroy others because of this my. We want to claim so many things as my. As long as you maintain this concept of my, there is no salvation. As long as you maintain that concept of I want to get the credit, I want to get the name, my name is not there, created by that concept of self. That is the first thing we had to eradicate. Can you do that? Second one, doubt. Our minds are not clear. Our understanding is very, very shallow. We maintain all sort of belief what we have heard from others, either our parents or grandparents or some others. Religious belief we maintain by depending on these things. And we are not sure whether the Buddha is a human being or a God or a savior or a real enlightened person, whether he really can help us to get rid of our problems and suffering. We are not sure because we cannot understand. And we do not know the real meaning of the Dhamma taught by the Buddha. We never study properly. So, we create some sort of doubts in our mind. How do we know whether it is true or not? By adapting or practicing or following this Dhamma, can we gain what we wanted? How do we know whether there will be another life hereafter? People say, if you do bad karmas, we have to suffer. If you do good karmas, we can enjoy. How can we prove? Is it not a theory or belief? And we can see so many who violate and disturb others, enjoy their life. And we also can see very good people, religious people, harmless people are suffering. Therefore, how can you say that good people can enjoy their life, evildoers had to suffer? You create doubt. Because your knowledge is not very advanced to understand. So as long as you maintain this kind of doubts in your mind, you are not entitled to get in even the first stage of sainthood. You must have clear mind, clear understanding. Then the last one in the same group, Silabbata Paramasa, just now I mentioned. By depending on external religious rites and rituals and ceremonies and worshipping and praying and offering, whatever method you adapted, thinking that you are trying to purify or to attain your final goal through these practices, you never attain that, you never gain that. Because all these practices are not for that. But those practices are important to many people, just like certain things that we provide for small children when they are in kindergarten. To them at that time they are very important. So still many of our Buddhists are in religious kindergarten. They are playing with all these rites and rituals and ceremonies They don't want to go to secondary school or university to improve their knowledge. Forever they enjoy only with those practices. No knowledge, no understanding. Their beliefs are very shaky, very uncertain. When these three disturbances are no more in our minds, we have already entered into sainthood, first stage of sainthood. Then what is the advantage of attaining this first stage? Only after attaining this first stage of sainthood, we can guarantee, we can give you a guarantee certificate that definitely you will attain your final goal, nirvana. Definitely. Again, you never go back. Rebirth never take place as animals, devils or ghosts or spirit or unfortunate living beings or blind or crippled or mad or wicked. No more. See, this is the stage. This is the juncture. This is called Sotapanna. Sota-apanna. Sota means a stream, water stream. Apanna means got into this. We got into this stream. And this stream flow only this way towards nirvana, not toward the hell or somewhere else. That is why it is called Sotapanna. But in our case today, we are swimming in the great ocean, not knowing where to swim, not knowing where the land is for us to land for our safeguard. Just struggle here and there in the great ocean, swimming this way and that way and this way and that way, in searching a safety place. But we are in the dark. That is what the Buddha says. My duty is to show those who suffer in this great ocean of samsara existence, to show them which way, which direction to swim, to cross, to land, to find out a safety land. But he never said, because it is impossible. If he said also we don't believe. Just like others say, when you struggle in this way, swimming this way and that way, that I will come like a helicopter and take you from there and drop into nirvana. But other religions promise this. That is why people like, how nice. Why worry? He will come and take us. But they have no mind to understand that it is impossible another person to take from here and drop somewhere else. He shows, he guides, he tells you what to do, he tells you how to swim. That is the duty of the Buddha. And now you understand the meaning of attaining the first stage of sainthood. We never go backward. Otherwise, our existence is very, very uncertain. The reason is, our minds are very unreliable. I cannot trust my own mind. How can I trust your mind? Every moment we are going on changing. Because circumstances, environment, temptation, emotions, irritation change the mind. And today you decide, I don't want to smoke. Right. Wait for 2 or 3 days. When another person smoke in front of you, you get the aroma, the smell. A very nice smell. Never mind, only one cigarette I smoke today. Then you start. Those who want to stop their drinking, I don't want to drink, very bad for the health and create lot of problems, I stop. Then one of your friends come, let us enjoy, they have a small drink. No, I have already stopped. No, only today. All right, then you go enjoy this. This is the nature of our mind. Very difficult for us to create permanent determination in our mind. Circumstances change the mind. Very religious people whom we trust as very honest and sincere person, after some time we found out number one crook and adapt all sort of cunning and selfish method. But we thought they are very religious and honest people, even monks also, not only lay people. And this is the nature of the mind. So, uncertainty in our life remain until we attain that first stage of sainthood. After that we never change our mind. One day, the Buddha visited a man who was suffering from leprosy. And he had his food also in his house. And after that he gave a sermon. When the Buddha returned home to the temple, so after listening to the Buddha, this person attained the first stage of sainthood, Sotapanna. You know our good friend Mara, he appeared again in the form of Buddha. He can transform himself. I can tell you a very nice story. It's a very interesting story. Mara's tricks and how he got into trouble. And very meaningful lesson for us to learn. 200 years after the Buddha's passing away, there was a well-known monk in India. His name was Upagutta. When he preached, when he gives sermon, thousands and thousands of people assemble and listen and learn the Dhamma. Mara was watching. He was not very happy. So what he did, in front of the monastery, he organized a very nice performance, entertainment. So when he started preaching here, he started there dancing, singing, laughing, merrymaking, enjoying. Then slowly, this crowd started dwindling, reducing. Only 10% remain here, 90% go to that place to enjoy. His idea was to interrupt. Then this monks thought, this Mara, even during the Buddha's time also, created a lot of disturbances. No one has taught him a lesson. Today, I am going to teach him a lesson. So he also went there. So allow him to dance and sing with his divine musicians, beautiful girls. Then he, in the end, he said, yes, wonderful, remarkable. I also really enjoy. So in appreciations of your performance, I put this garland on your neck. Oh, he was very proud, stood like this. Then the monk came back. After a very short while, the Mara felt the garland that he put in the neck is tightening like a python. Now the difficulty of breathing also. He tried and tried his best to pull it, cannot take out. Then he thought this is not a joke. So what he did, he went to Sakra. You know Sakra? The king of God. I am in difficulty. Please remove this one. Sakra also tried and tried. He said, I cannot. And he said, there is another very supreme God in this world called Brahma. He is the creator of this world. You must go to Brahma. Then Mara went to the Brahma and asked him to help him. Brahma also tried and cannot take out. Then he told him, you must go back to the same person who put this garland on you. He is the only one who can remove. He had to come back, apologize, and please remove this, otherwise I may die. Then Venerable Upagutta told him, yes. Then Venerable Upagutta told him, yes. Under two conditions. If you agree, then I will remove. Then he said, even 100 conditions also I don't mind if you can remove this one. Then Upagutta said, you have been disturbing the Buddhas, Arahantas and monks. Do you promise in future not to disturb? I like to see how he looked like. But you have seen him, you have disturbed him, and you can transform yourself. Do you promise for me to show me the Buddha figure with all those special characteristics? You know, he had 32 special characteristics. The nose and the lips and the complexion, the hair and ears and all those things. 32 special marks. So can you show me the real Buddha? Then Mara said, yes, there is no difficulty. Then Mara said, under one condition. So when I represent here as the Buddha, you should not worship me. Then Upagutta said, no, I am not going to worship you. Right? Then just transform by using his miraculous power stood exactly like the Buddha figure. So when he showed this real Buddha figure, Venerable Upagutta paid respect. Then Mara shouted, you promise not to worship me. Then Upagutta said, stupid man, I am not worshipping Mara, I am worshipping to the Buddha. Remember this. This is a very good lesson for those who come and condemn you as idol worshippers. You worship all those idols, images, metals and bricks and cement. What do you gain? This is the answer. You do not worship idols. That image is the replica, not exactly replica, embodiment of all the great virtues, purity, wisdom. So we respect and worship all those qualities and virtues and sacredness, not those metals and bricks and gold and diamond. It's a very good lesson for us to understand why we worship, why we respect the Buddha. By keeping an image in front of us, visible object, to concentrate, to gain more inspiration. to develop our understanding, to calm our mind. So now I come back to the other story. So when the Buddha has gone back to the temple, Mara came exactly like the Buddha. He came and told him, do you know, for a short while ago I came and told you and not to do this, not to do this and that. Actually, mistakenly I have told you all these things. It is not like that. I remember later, that's why I came back to tell you, you should not worry about all those. You can do anything whatever you like. Don't worry about that. Then this man started to think, because he has already attained the first stage of sainthood. Then he said, the Buddhas never have two words. And once they said something, next time they never say it is wrong. Therefore I believe that you are not the Buddha. You cannot bluff me. And this is the nature of a mind, one who attained the first stage of soul. Nobody in this world can change the confidence that person have developed. But in your case, very shaky, very shallow. When another religious group come and tell you something, yes, very nice, I also like to, we also like to. Then another group come and tell, yes, that method is more good. Throughout your life you go on changing, in the end nothing. And this is the weakness that we maintain in our mind. Now let us come to the second stage. How to reach the final goal. So this final goal you cannot find in the gold field there. You have to climb. Second stage is called Sakadagami. Sakad Agami, meaning once return. Meaning, return to this world after their death only once. To this mundane world. Only once. If that person has not attained final goal or arahanthood, after his death, rebirth can take place only once. A stop. Then, what are the things, qualifications to gain that? We have to reduce two mental defilements. Kamaraga, Patigha. These are very strong mental forces. We cannot completely wipe out or eradicate at once. To attain the second stage, we can reduce, suppress, control them. That is the only thing we can do. What are those two things? Kama raga. Our craze for sensual indulgence. We are willing to spend any amount. We are willing to suffer. We are willing to disturb others for our indulgence, for our pleasure. So we are crazy for this pleasure. Because of this crazy attitude for this pleasure, the whole world is in turmoil condition. Like a battlefield. People are fighting, killing, doing all the dirty, immoral things because of this pleasure. So when you attain the higher stage of Brahma world, where you cannot find this battle, they never fight for their pleasure. A complete calmness, peace, tranquility, happiness they experience in Brahma world. And this is the advantage of the development of meditation. Those meditators if their minds are developed after they are dead, rebirth can take place not in this human world, not even in so-called heaven, but higher than all these things is called Brahma. Complete peace, contentment, satisfaction, but not permanent. Not permanent. So, we had to reduce, just now I told you, if you want to enjoy your life, you can. Then you have to cut down so many things. How to enjoy without disturbing others, or without bluffing others, without harming others. Then you have reduced so many things. Then you can reduce some more. Your time, how many hours, how many days a month, how many hours a day. Then you can go on reducing. This is the practical way. So when you reduce this, worldly pleasure, then the time you can devote, you can concentrate on more important things, to improve your knowledge and understanding. Through indulgence you never learn anything. You become dull actually. Then, second one, patiga. Patiga is called ill will or hatred, if not grudge, is very strong in our mind. It is not anger. You must remember the difference between anger and hatred. What's different? Anger is emotional. We show our anger for good purpose. We shout at others. We beat others, either to correct them or to show them the correct path. Parents show their anger, they beat their children. At that time they are very angry. What is the purpose of their anger? To train them. Also, that type of emotional anger is not under this category. Remember this. Because there is no ill will, ill feeling, hatred in that mind. After beating and beating, they bring some ointment and apply. See the nature of that anger? Kindness is inside. But hatred or ill will is very poisonous. First we poison our own mind by harboring. You understand? It is like this. Supposing this is a metal vessel. If we pour some acid into this vessel and keep for some time, you can see how this acid eat the metal, then make holes also, rot. So the hatred that we develop in our mind is exactly like acid in that vessel. First we damage our own mind, our physical body, our organs and glands and everything. So when we throw out, burns others. The Buddha has given another simple parable. He said, when you want to throw either dog dungs or cat dungs or cow dung at others' faces, first you take like this and throw at others. Yes, you dirty others' faces, but first you dirty your own hand. Exactly in the same way, when you develop this hatred, grudge, enmity in your mind, you damage your own mind, you damage your own physical body, then you disturb others. This hatred, this grudge, this enmity, you had to reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce. So when your mind is in that stage, you are entitled to attain the second stage of sainthood. Now 5 things. Then the third stage, anagami. Anagami, never return. That means one who attained the third stage of sainthood after his or her death, if not attained sainthood or nirvana, never come back to this mundane world. Rebirth never take place either as a human beings or devas. But in one of the Brahma realm, highest, Suddhavasa, pure abode, there are 5. In one of those places, rebirth takes place. From there, develop the remainder, then attain nirvana. That is why they are called never return, never come back to this mundane world to suffer physically and mentally. So what are the qualities? The 2 things that we have suppressed earlier, we eradicate completely. Hatred and craze for pleasure. When these 2 things completely removed from the mind, third stage of sainthood, on the way to final goal. So after reaching this stage, the whole universe we divide into 2. From that level onward, we divide mundane and supramundane. Below that level, all those living beings are belong to mundane, worldly, changeable, physically and mentally. So above this level is called supramundane. Oram bhagya, uddham bhagya, Pali word. Now third stage, still not yet attained arahant, perfection. Arahanta means perfection. 5 more things, altogether 10. 10 fetters, 10 bondages. We are bound to this world to suffer because of these 10 bondages. That is why we cannot come up. We are bound to this world due to these 10. Now we have cut down 5. 5 more still remain. What are those 5? Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uddhacha, Avidya. Ruparaga, craving for fine material world, craving for worldly pleasure already eradicated, but another kind of craving still remains. What is that? In many of those Brahma worlds, their existence, the formation of their life is very radiant, pleasant, appealing. So when they develop that craving to be one of them, that belief hinders the spiritual development. We have to get rid of this. So the aim is not to have better rebirth in one of the Brahma realm, because that is also impermanent. Second one, Arupa Raga. Rupa means formation, Arupa means no formation. Life exists without visible formation in Brahma world. That means they are completely free from physical burden. Now this body is a real burden to us. How many times a day we had to feed, we had to clean and wash and attend to. Most of our time we devote to attend to this physical body, then sicknesses. In the end, old age, the real burden of physical body we experience when we attain the old age. So they are completely free from this problem. Because no visible physical formation, but life exists. Then you can ask, how can be that? Because your knowledge is not that advanced for you to understand how such living beings can exist. For that I can give a parable. Now here in this world we have seen birds are flying here and there. Fishes are swimming or living in the water. Assume in certain planet, in another world system, those living beings have never seen birds in their life, never seen fish. If we go and tell them, in our world, in this world, there are some birds who can fly, go up and up, then how can be that? Impossible. Because they have never seen, they cannot understand. Again we say, in our world there are some living beings in the water. They can sleep under the water. How can be that? How can they live under the water? We don't believe this. So our imagination about this world system is exactly like that, because we have no knowledge. So don't deny, just because you cannot understand. Then the third one, Ruparag Mana. This is a terrible thing. We carry this up to the last stage. We never drop this one. How grave this one. Our pride. Pride is a very dangerous thing. There are so many reasons for us to maintain pride. We are proud. We are proud of our country, our nation, our color, our richness, our property, our this and proud. This pride is another mental hindrance. So to attain the first, what you call last stage of Arahanthood, we have to drop this by knowing that this is an hindrance. Mana, not mana. Mana is mind. This is mana, pride. Next one, Uddhacha. Uddhacha is restlessness in our mind. We cannot understand. We are unhappy sometimes. Unrest. We cannot understand why. We cannot explain, we cannot give reason. Physically and mentally, all right. No complaint. But some sort of mental disturbances are bothering us. What is this? these disturbances are not due to certain external things, but in our subconscious mind that we have accumulated during our previous birth, certain mental habits, certain mental attitudes, mental tendencies are still functioning. So these things project, and then disturbances take place in the mind. It's very hard to understand this. Disturbances take place for nothing. That one we had to reduce by calming and calming and calming the mind. Then when the mind is completely calm, these things cannot project and disturb, become a strong force. Last one, avidya. Avidya is ignorance. And what is this ignorance? We are ignorant because we do not know many things, what is happening in this world. Not that type of ignorance. Now, when I compare my knowledge regarding certain things and the knowledge of a small child who studies in primary school, I am ignorant because I do not know many things that the child has learnt. Not this type of ignorance. Just at the beginning I told you, we do not know why we are here. We do not know why we suffer, why we are not happy with this life. We do not know how to get rid of this problem. And we adopt the wrong attitude, wrong method to get rid of this. That is called ignorance. So in that case we are all ignorant. You have to admit. When that realization appears in the mind, this is the cause of our existence. This is the cause why we are not happy in this world. This is the reason why decay and death take place. This is the reason why rebirth, appearance again take place. This is the reason why we exist again and again and again. And this is the method to stop all this rubbish. Then realization appear in the mind. Arahant, last, end of our journey, reach the final goal. Now we have to go out. Okay?
Akasattha Bummata Devanaga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anumodittva Chiram Rakkantu Loka Sasanam Devo Vasatu Kalena Sassa Sampatti Hetu Ca Pito Bhavatu Loko Ca Raja Bhavatu Dhammiko Idam me jātinam hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo imina puñña kammena māme bāla samāgamo swatam samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā.
Brothers and sisters, a happy Valley evening. First of all, I would like to thank Reverend for allowing me to be here this evening to share some of the herbal knowledge, herbal usage to promote a healthier and happier family. Tonight, with me is my company's herbalist consultant, who is Haji Muhammad Qasim, a qualified practitioner and acupuncturist. Without much delay, I would like to call upon Haji Muhammad Qasim.
Good evening, everybody. I don't know what to say. After the Reverend spoke so much, I don't know what to say, really. I've got about half an hour, so I'd just like to pick on some of the things that are most important to remember about herbs and health. Now, herbal medicine is a way of treating the whole body. We do not pay much attention to diseases in the Western sense, or the modern sense, you could say. A herbalist always looks for the body's own healing ability. That means we recognize most diseases as not being something which fell down upon us from some unseen force or something like that. We see diseases as basically stemming from not following certain rules and regulations about your diet, about the way you live, about your habits, and so on. And the idea is to see the diseases as the body's way of eliminating certain things. For instance, when you get a fever, the modern concept of a fever was always that you must suppress it. You know, you go to the doctor, you normally get paracetamol, you normally get very strong suppressive remedies for fever. But the herbalists have always said, and natural practitioners from the very beginnings of natural medicine, or medicine that we know about, they've always said that you must support the body's healing ability, and that fevers are a way of getting rid of toxins, or they're a way of mobilizing the immune system. So when a herbalist sees you in a fever, he will ascertain how high it is. For instance, if it's above a certain level, then of course it will damage brain cells, and it has to be stopped. And you use any methods, including modern medicine, to stop it. But in many cases, it is below a certain level, and it could go in fact higher before, and then it will break. So a herbalist will always encourage a natural resolution of problems. The same with the inflammatory process. When one of your joints becomes inflamed through various illnesses, we will not always seek to give anti-inflammatory remedies. We will use herbal remedies which promote a natural cleansing of the joints, and in fact, in some cases they make your joints feel a bit worse to begin with. But then, after a while, you feel better. And this is the natural law that we follow in herbal medicine. Now, although different types of herbal medicine say it in different ways, the Western style, which I studied, kind of rediscovered some ancient philosophies about health. And I studied particularly the Thomsonian system, which is an American system of herbal medicine, which was developed by a man who was uneducated. He was not a medical doctor, but towards the end of the 18th century, he realized that modern medicine was not able to help many of the diseases that his family died of. And so he became thoroughly disenchanted with the medicine of his time. And the medicine of his time bled people, they burned people, they gave them poisonous things like mercury and arsenic, and it was quite a dangerous thing to go and see a doctor in those days, you know. A little bit more dangerous than it is nowadays to go and see a doctor. Just a little bit more. Of course, modern medicine has changed, and we are very grateful that if you do get run down by a truck, or you do suffer from a major mishap, modern medicine is there to help you. In many areas where I could not help, or a herbalist or a natural practitioner could not help you. For instance, a friend of mine had something stuck in his eye, and we couldn't help him, so we took him to the hospital, and the doctor did something very good and was able to take out this thing from his eye. That is modern medicine. But the problems that we deal with, modern medicine doesn't seem to be able to deal with. And this is because of the different approaches that I was explaining earlier. Now, Thomson, in looking at diseases, looked at it very simply. He saw that there were fevers, he saw that there were different diseases, and he knew that there were many, many different names for different diseases. But he always tried to find the underlying causes. And basically identified a few of them. He identified a declining heat in the body because he saw that life was heat and cold was death. So he always wanted to build up the heat in the body. So one of the earliest remedies he ever developed was a pepper, cayenne pepper. And most traditional forms of medicine, and I'm sure many of you will know about this, are very hot. Like the traditional medicine of India is full of hundreds of different types of peppers. The Malay traditional medicine is full of peppers. In fact, Chinese medicine is also composed of many different, what would be termed as hot-tasting remedies. And these are all to build up the heat and energy of the body. Now, a herbalist who is trained in the way I was trained would always be seeking to do this as well. Always seeking to strengthen and energize the body through herbs which lift up your vitality. So, in many cases, the disease is not so important, it's the state of the body. Now, the herbal remedies that you use for a problem are quite important, but being a herbalist is not always the best thing, because we tend to set up our practices in offices and everything, and we tend to be more clinical about it. What I have been interested in mostly is teaching what I would call lay herbalism, for want of a better word. People who just want to maintain their health by themselves, using herbs and lowering their dependence on drugs, which, although may seem very safe, are always, to some degree, dangerous. I remember there was one famous saying by a president of a pharmaceutical company, a company that makes drugs, and he said that a drug is only a drug if it has side effects. That means all medicines, in his view, have side effects, and there can't be a medicine without a side effect, meaning modern medical drugs. So they all have side effects. And many Malaysians, I found, tend to rely too much on suppressive drugs. Now, if there are any doctors here, they'll probably disagree with me, but most doctors tend to be they find it very easy to give antibiotics over and over again. Have you ever heard of that? Going to the doctor, you always seem to get antibiotics. No matter what you're suffering from, slight colds, infections, anything, they always give you antibiotics. In fact, I've heard that in Sabah and Sarawak, some of the less educated tribesmen will not leave a doctor's office unless they actually get an injection of some form of drug. And sometimes the doctors are at their wits' end what to do, so they just give them vitamin injections sometimes. They've been trained, and many, even educated Malaysians, are trained to think that drugs and modern medicine is the only way, and that the herbs and the herbal remedies of their grandmothers are backward and unsafe and at worst downright dangerous. But I know one American doctor who says that, and he's not just an ordinary doctor, he's a trainer of doctors. He says that the grandmothers know more than the average specialist about certain problems. Your old grandmother at home, who knows how to boil up different herbs, she knows a lot about health, and she can give you some very sound advice. So we are involved in reviving the interest in herbs and bringing a Western approach to the idea of health. Now, this doesn't mean that the Eastern approach is no good or whatever. Most of my lecturers in the colleges were very interested, and some of them were actually qualified in Eastern forms of medicine, like herbalism, Chinese herbalism. Some of them even went as far as Tibet to learn Tibetan herbal medicine. And there are various remedies you can obtain in England and America which are systematized copies of many remedies which have been used for thousands of years in the ancient countries. So this is what we are trying to do. So I don't think I can say much more because there's not much time and people are leaving bit by bit. So if anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I might have raised. Can they ask questions? They can. Yeah, anything? Anything you've always wanted to know and never been able to ask, yes? Actually, I think that's probably right. I should probably explain a bit. Because the thing is, I'm a practitioner, I'm not a salesman, you see. So even though I'm wearing a tie, I was just asked to wear a tie because I thought everybody else would be wearing a tie. But nobody else is wearing a tie, I'm the only one, so I feel a bit out of place. Anyway, as Mr. Lee said, the man who came up before, he has got a company. And this company sells herbal products. And he engaged me to help to teach some of his people how to use herbs. That's why he used the word herbal usage. Because we don't turn out doctors, we just turn out people who are more aware of their health and more aware of how to use herbs. So I do give lectures on herbal remedies for his company, and these lectures are very simple. They're not designed to make you become experts, but they're designed to let you use herbal remedies in your home, on yourself, quite safe, quite effective, and in many cases will alleviate a lot of the problems which modern medicine cannot quite deal with safely. You can always get your arthritic knee cut off, but that's not always the answer, is it? It's better to have the knee and have no pain. So the doctors can only give you an anti-rheumatic, anti-inflammatory drug which has a lot of side effects, or he'll ask you to cut it off. But there are other ways besides that. And this is what we represent. In fact, many people call our form of medicine alternative medicine. Have you heard that idea? Alternative medicine. Which means not instead of medicine. I don't mean not go and see a doctor. I mean something you can do as an alternative for very simple, everyday problems. So any more questions? It's not it's not one herb. You know that it's not just one single herb. We are I represent a system of medicine, not one single herb. A system of using herbs. Right now, we are using around 40 different herbal remedies. And we teach around 20 of them. And these are basically for different problems. We split the body up into different parts. We explain what these parts do, for instance, the lungs, breathing in of oxygen, getting rid of carbon dioxide, promoting proper oxygenation of the blood and everything. Then we talk about what things can go wrong with the lungs. For instance, you can get phlegm, you can cough, you can get asthma. Then what herbs you could use to supplement whatever treatment you're undergoing, or if you're not undergoing treatment, what herbs you can use to strengthen your particular areas of the body. So it's not just one herb, it's different combinations that we use, which are applied to different parts of the body. Yes? Okay, right, let me clarify that a bit. I understand that Malaysians use herbs, and I didn't actually say that they don't. But what I see every day in my rooms is that I see children who from 2 years old to 15, 14 years old have been given too many antibiotics by doctors. I find people who are overly drugged. Now, they have tried herbal remedies sometimes, and many of them continue to take them. But there's always one relative around who will always say, go and see a doctor. And in fact, when they do go to see the doctor frightens them into using only his medication. And this is what so if I gave the impression that Malaysians don't use herbs, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. They do. But the thing is, I feel that, especially among my patients, there's an overuse of modern medicine because they do not quite understand what traditional medicine is about, especially the younger generation. The younger people, the people who come back from Australia, and the people who come back from America and come back from England, and have failed to realize while they were over there the sudden resurgence of natural medicine overseas, because they're very busy in their studies. They haven't realized that there are people in New York and people in London and people in Manchester, even where I come from, who are using the herbs which their grandmothers brought up for them back in Malaysia. You see, these are the younger generation who kind of differ a little bit and will not use the herbal remedies because they think that they're a bit old. Yes? Huh?
How is it different from the Chinese herb?
Uh-huh.
You know Chinese herb, you go to a Chinese
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You prescribe a mixture of herbs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Then you ask him to boil.
Mm-hmm.
Or what not to have a pot or something
Yes.
like that. Sometimes the boy becomes more.
Well, actually, I did study Chinese herbal medicine when I was in America. And my teacher came from mainland China. He defected from China. Sorry, he defected, and maybe I should have said that. Anyway, he taught the basis of Chinese medicine. Now, the Western system does not differ that much, except that we have a slightly different system of using the herbs. And also, there's a lot more modern investigation into what the herb contains, its proper dosage level, and what is the best way to prepare it. Now, it's very interesting you brought up the thing about boiling, because many herbs contain aromatic oils. Now, those are the herbs which smell. When you smell a herb, that is aroma. That's aromatic oils in the herb. Now, if you boil that herb, the aroma is gone, because oils are, in fact, made up of very volatile compounds which are destroyed by heat. So in the Western system, we've got more knowledge about which is the best way of taking herbs. So sometimes you'll find a herbalist recommending capsules, sometimes an infusion like in a tea, sometimes boiling it. It all depends on what part of the herb you're dealing with. Like roots are usually boiled. Flowers are usually made into tea. Seeds are crushed up and made into, they're boiled. So we've got a little bit more knowledge of these things. Now, Chinese medicine does have some of that knowledge, but for convenience sake, they just put it all into that bowl and you boil it all up. And one thing good about Chinese medicine, and one thing, a slight weakness in a lot of the Western style medicines, is that the Chinese medical doctor will take your pulse. Have everybody been to the Chinese doctor and he takes your pulse? Well, I do that as well. I take your pulse. And what he's doing when he's taking your pulse, he's not figuring out what's wrong with you. A lot of people think that that's what he's doing, but he's not. What he's doing is, he is feeling which parts of your body lack energy, or where the energy is blocked. He will not always be able to name your disease. In fact, if he does name your disease, you'll think he's crazy. He might say, you have wind blocked in upper heater. Now what does that mean? Wind blocked in upper heater. First of all, in modern medicine we don't have wind. You can't have everything blocked, and there's no such thing as an upper heater in modern medicine. But we have all these things in Chinese medicine. So you might be having asthma. But he will say, no, you're not having asthma, you're having wind blocked in upper heater. And you can have an argument with him about this, and he will not win, because he will keep saying that. And he's got thousands of years behind him. A modern doctor's only got 70 years of medical research behind him. So his herbal compound will be designed for you. It will depend on what your pulse, what he felt in your pulse. It will be built around you as a person, not around a remedy which has been known to help many people.